Okay.
He's good. He's live.
I guess I'm no place to hide. All right.
I mean, if you need to, there's doors, so you can. There is an escape. Yeah. So I mean, it's fine. We won't hold it against you.
Stuff is piled up behind him.
It's true. It's an anti-chuck device. I've just been really loving the opportunity to get to chat with folks. You know, everyone here is a new friend to me because it's all been, just about 4 months. And so it's been great to get to know you along with everyone else. And this is just another opportunity to get to know you on a deeper level for all of us. And I've found in this series that something that comes up again and again is that there are aspects of our childhood or early life, adolescence, and there are these moments that really shape us and that seem to have an impact on the way that our journey, our faith and spirituality plays out throughout the rest of our life. It's almost like these seeds are planted really early on and they tend to grow and take root and sprout. And so I'm curious for you, was there anything that you were, when it comes to faith and spirituality, were there things that you were told or given, or were these understandings that were given to you at a young age that had an impact throughout your life?
Well, yeah, definitely. There was a I guess a lost opportunity. I had been asked that we had a youth Sunday at this Methodist church in Fargo, North Dakota, and Reverend Dave asked me to give a talk on Youth Sunday, which I did, and that was well received, I guess. But afterwards, I'd never been asked to state beliefs, publicly, which I had, just kind of. But it's all spoon fed to you as you grow up. And my mother was a church organist, and we went to Protestant churches, and so it's you get Sunday school, et cetera, and it's the conventional wisdom of the time. Anyway, I realized, I'm not sure I believe in any bearded old man in the sky. And I'm not sure I believe totally this and this miracle and that miracle. It's just kind of far-fetched. And but I'd never even questioned it, I went to talk to Reverend Dave. It was kind of a thing. I thought this could be a long talk because God went to saying, I want to believe, but I just can't get there to believe everything. And this is a big thing. I thought, but anyways, he just very briefly said, "Well, Al, that's my middle name. You just act as if you believed, and go on, and it'll come to you." And I just, as Jake said, well, that's fake it till you make it. And I mean, my feeling was that's not an answer. That's what I've been doing. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize I was doing it, but yeah. I mean, we all of us teens, we just repeat things because you repeat things. That didn't take long for faith, quote, to start crumbling thereafter.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to try to build a faith on.
Yeah.
Can I call you Al?
Yeah.
I like that.
That's actually, I like Al.
All right, Al. See, we learn something new every time we do this. Fake it till you make it. There are some areas in life where maybe that's an okay piece of advice. I mean, some of you probably have started that way in your job. You're like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm just going to fake it till I make it. Some of you might have been in your job for 25 years. You're like, I still don't know what we do here at this order. You know what I mean? So maybe stop at some point. But when it comes to spirituality, when it becomes to this deep aspect of who we are, our authenticity, how we relate to reality, how we think of the forces that govern our world, this is not an area where we should try to fake it till we make it. Because that's going to work until it doesn't, right? We probably all know a version of that. And so was there a moment, Al, where just pretending that you believed something just truly stopped working?
You know, it's a song. You can call me Al, you know. Yeah. That's Paul Simon. Yeah, Paul
It's going to be our closing song.
Right. A moment. Oh, yeah, definitely. A definite moment when belief, but even when the conventional faith crumbled, I always felt a tug, a pull when I went by a church. You know, I just felt a connection. I continued, but Robbie and I visited on a European trip. I think 1980 something, early. The Dachau concentration camp outside Munich, and it was a profound experience. It's as I speak right now, it's kind of moving. It was just gathering. Arriving, I was very irritated that what a cute village Dachau was. It was like a scene out of Heidi or Sound of Music. You know, these storybook windows and Bavarian, you know, flower pots and so on, and churches, you know, Catholic and Lutheran and et cetera. And it didn't dawn on me, right, why that irritated me, because I didn't want it to look normal. And then, of course, you walk far enough, and there's the big gate, Arbeit, Zugfrei, you know, and it's kind of sinister there, but it's all cleaned up. I mean, it's as you go. But you get to these hovels and so on, and these ovens just blew me away. I mean, they look like Middle Eastern baking bread ovens, kind of in these hovels and with big iron doors that clang shut. Just incredible. And then next to it was this little non-denominational chapel that was barely recognizable, and I just looked at it angrily. I just thought, where the hell were you? It just hit me. I had wanted to look different, because the conclusion, I mean, these were ordinary people. They were Lutherans, they were Catholics, they were ordinary people, and the ones that let it happen, the ones that participated, they were us, they were me, they are everybody, and it just hit me, bam, you know, I could participate, anybody could. At somewhere in every one of us is a corner deaf and dumb and dark enough for this to happen. But, I mean, this was the nation that gave us Beethoven and Goethe and, you know, good heavens. All our gorgeous Western culture, half our church music. I was just devastated. And I wrote in my journal that we are animals alone on a planet, hurtling through space with nuclear warheads and armed to the teeth, and there is no God. There could not possibly be a God that would let this whole thing happen. And that's how we are. We're a bunch of murderers, 4 billion murderers on a planet hurtling through space, and it's just a matter of time till we blow ourselves up.
Not exactly a positive outlook right there.
Charming.
We could call this the dark night of the soul portion of the story. You know, we've been in this series, and I appreciate you sharing that. I could tell that it was difficult for you to share, but I think it's an important part of your story. And, we've been in this series talking about these moments that kind of shake us or pull us out of the way that we've been living and operating. And Richard Rohr, he talks about how it can be great love or great suffering that propels us into these next stages of spiritual growth. And some of the other stories that have been shared throughout this series, there's been loss. There's been great loss that propelled us into these new levels. Or it's been great love, looking at, the face of your newborn baby and the love that you feel for that child, and that propelling you into a new way of being and a new way of seeing. For you, it was this experience of the collective suffering and kind of taking on and seeing what we're capable of as human beings, and how that challenged you in such an incredible way. But I wonder, for you, following that experience, and again, we're just breezing through your life. We're kind of snapping through decades here. But was there a point where you were able to rebuild, where you were able to walk away from some of that cynicism that you shared towards the end, and come back to a place of hope, come back to a place of meaning, hope in humanity, hope in this, in life?
Yeah. Thank heavens. There were a number of years where that connection, that kind of tugging feeling that I felt from religion, I didn't feel much of that. And if I did, I just, dismissed it, because I was angry, feeling I'd been sold a bill of goods, kind of. But it wasn't all that long before the tugging started up again, and meanwhile, Robbie had turned into a recovering Catholic instead of a Catholic, and I did, through a fortunate series of events, get into a writing group on spirituality and the writing process, which helped. And then I got to meditation, which made a big difference. I finally learned that you can't think your way to God. It just can't be done. Is it that line Joseph Campbell says, where he met a leader of one of the Catholic universities, and the Catholic priest said, you're a logician and a philosopher, Mr. Campbell. Yes. And are you a Catholic, Mr. Campbell? And he said, I was. And the priest said, well, I suppose by logic you cannot construct a proof that God is God. And Campbell said, well, if there were, Father, what would be the value of faith? And the priest said, well, it was nice to meet you. Went on his way. You're never going to think your way to it. But meditation taught me that there's other ways of knowing, and
you shared of an experience that you had in New Mexico of coming to a sense, and I'm sure the meditation was all part of it, because when you're in that place, you're open, coming from a more heart open place. And so there's this moment for you where you almost like you have the reverse perspective that you had from Dachau.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We were in New Mexico visiting Robbie's sister and brother-in-law, and I hadn't really been thinking on the subject, but an awareness hit me that, yes, we are all killers in potential, but by and large, we don't do bad things all the time. By and large, the vast
Speak for yourself.
I said all the time. Yeah. I mean, we're as bad as we think we can get away with, but yeah, actually there's an awful lot of good, and there's love of many, many kinds. I think the Greeks had 10 words. And there's forgiveness and mercy and the instinct. People save the lives of others and lose their own in the process. People do generous things, marvelous, and you add up all those, and it hit me why. Just if I look at the fact that love exists in all these forms and manifestations, and generosity, and shared concerns, and love of laughter. Good heaven, it just goes on. And now, why wouldn't the fact that we are hardwired for all that? Why wouldn't that be an adequate reason to build a cathedral and to sing praise of just what is good fortune, if you want to take that? And then that was every bit of, that's enough right there.
Yeah. On one hand, you're holding the potential for darkness and evil, and on the other hand, you hold the potential for beauty and for good. It makes me think of, we look at the Bible, we look at the God of the Bible, and there are some challenging things in the Bible where you say, how could God allow this? And then there's also incredible beauty, incredible optimism. And you may be sitting here uncertain about how you feel about the Bible. That is fine. Plenty of, we are all too. But the thing is like you're saying, this is enough. And I wonder, holding all of the challenging things and holding all of the beautiful things. Sometimes I look at the Bible as a space where those things can commingle. And if the God of the Bible is really in a lot of ways a metaphor for the ideals and the aspirations of a group of people, I hope this is what God could be like, then sometimes that's enough for me to know that we're continuing to push and strive for a greater sense of what it means to be human, a greater sense of what it means to interact with the divine. And I don't think it's altogether crucial that, you could be in this room and have any kind of concept of God. I don't think a concept of a particular being is necessary to have a healthy spirituality. That the language may have changed for you over the years. You may look at God as reality or source or higher self. But it does fascinate me how through these journeys, the way that we name and the way that we experience the divine changes and evolves for us. And so I'm curious for you, going through that phase of kind of destruction or deconstruction and then reconstruction, rebuilding, how do you relate to the divine now? What do you think about God? What does that mean to you now?
I think the best statement I can make is one I actually carry around in my wallet, and I always lose credit cards, but I've never lost this.
You always lose credit cards?
Almost.
We need to figure a new system for you.
I just walk down the street throwing them.
I'm going to walk behind you someday. I want to be like, all right, cool. Great. Do you want to? I have this on the screen. Do you want to read this for us?
Well, sure. This is E. Cummings. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today, and this is the Son's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and wings and of the great happening illimitably earth. Thank you.
You got it.
How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any, lifted from the know of all nothing, human merely being, doubt unimaginable you? Unimaginable you is enough for me.
I love that. And there are moments that we come close to unimaginable you, however that means to you. The veil feels thin. And as humans, just in this life, we all know we face these moments of incredible difficulty or incredible challenge. And they bring us close to unimaginable you. They force us to dig deep into our spirituality, into the whole journey of everywhere we've been, everywhere, everything, everybody that shaped us. And so this past summer, you had an experience that I think, when I think about it, it seems like it drew on the entire journey. It drew on everything you've been through, the dark, the light, and your dance with unimaginable you.
Well, yeah, certainly. The first and only time so far that I faced a life-threatening illness was my colon cancer. That's the last fall, which rocks you back on your heels. It certainly focuses, and my faith in the whole thing, I think, was I never panicked that I recall, and I felt comfortable to just say I'll do everything possible to fight for it's almost a fight in the American medical system to get. But I never felt alone, and of course people saying they were praying, and I know people did, and I did feel the forces there, and what once it was done, and I had unbelievably, dodged the bullet. I did have it, and what I want to hold on to is, okay, boss, you saved me for another round. What do you have in mind? No, and that's
Look at where you are now.
or I hope, yeah.
Wow, and you're sharing, and that's just a perfect way, I think, to really. I mean, that's so beautiful. He's, however, he, she, it. I mean, whatever you think about God, it's driving you. It's still motivating you. And I don't know. When we were talking this week, I had just this sense of hope that throughout a life of getting interesting messages from a young age, then having an experience that really challenged the way that you look at everything, to then, experiencing your own difficulty in health, and yet coming to this place and being able to share in such vulnerability in a way that's so helpful, that you have shared today some of the mountains that you've climbed that will end up being a survival guide for someone else. So I want to thank you so much for your vulnerability. We so appreciate you. So.
Thanks, Jake.
Well, certainly that's going to have brought some stuff to the surface of your heart today, and so I just want to launch us into our discussion groups, and I want to kind of focus on these two questions. The first is, thinking back to the beginning of Chuck's story, have you ever tried to pretend that you believe something? When did fake it till you make it not exactly work for you? And then number two, how do you think of the unimaginable you? What does that spring to mind for you? And we're just going to spend these next 10 minutes. If you want to find a group among the seats or turn your chairs or add some chairs to the tables, we're going to just spend the next 10 minutes and chatting.